Welcome to the Christian Men at Work podcast, where I interview men from all walks of life with varying job titles who have one thing in common. They are all choosing daily to live out their Christian faith through their work, and because of that, they are leading, prospering, glorifying God, and experiencing joy and purpose in their work, and you can too. Hello, Men at Work, and welcome to episode 30 of Christian Men at Work. Today I'm going to be talking with Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Damon Friedman. He's the executive producer of the film Surrender Only to One, which will be available for free to churches and other organizations on Patriot Day, the anniversary of the September 11th attacks, through September 16th. It's a docudrama that tells the true story of 5 men and 1 woman, all Special Forces operators from various branches of the military. They served in America's longest war, the War on Terror, that began on September 11, 2001, when Islamic terrorists seized 4 airliners, crashing 2 into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center and killed almost 3,000 people. Dr. Friedman is founder of Sos Missions, which stands for Shield of Faith, and this organization supports warriors who struggle with PTSD and gives them the tools to overcome the after effects of combat. Dr. Friedman has earned 3 Bronze Stars during 4 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and is currently actively serving. Let's get right to our interview.
Dr. Friedman, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. I'm really excited about our discussion, and I like to start out every conversation here by just asking you if you could tell us a little bit about how and when you became a Christian.
Well, okay, that's what a question. It happened a long time ago when I was in college. I had a lot of good people in my life talk to me about Jesus, and I definitely embraced the philosophy of Jesus. I even recognized Jesus as Lord, but I never really embraced him as my personal Lord and Savior. I think there's a lot of people that can really relate to that. And it wasn't until I dropped out of college. I'm from downtown Los Angeles, born and raised in LA, lived in the project, kind of a rough upbringing, juvenile delinquent kind of guy. And kind of born in America. My mom was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and so I was the first. My brother and I were the first ones to really go to college. We had a full scholarship in running, and so we were kind of the promise of the family, and I just had a really difficult time dealing with college, chasing some dreams, chasing some glory. Ran really fast. I was one of the top runners in the country in the 800 meters, and I ended up dropping out even though I had a full scholarship. And some good friends were talking to me about, hey, you're always running for a prize. You're always trying to find peace in your life. And you figure, for every victory that you have, that you're going to attain this peace. He says, if you really want to find peace, if you really want to run a race that's worth fighting for, worth, racing in, then you've got to run the race that where victory's forever, and that's with Jesus Christ. And it was just my sophomore year in college. I received Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior. But unfortunately, like so many other Christians out there, I didn't really grow spiritually. So I struggled for a long period of time until my life radically changed in combat, fast forward in 2010, which we'll talk more about that later on. So that's my story in a snapshot.
Yeah, I'm curious. You said that you had some friends that were pointing you in the direction of Jesus. That probably didn't happen by accident, that you had them as friends. So, in other words, you had friends who were Christians. So, how did that work out? In other words, how were you interacting with these people, even though you hadn't yet accepted him as your Lord and Savior? I'm just curious.
Well, they were all really good friends. And, the idea and the concept of Jesus as this incredible miracle maker, or one that was raising people from the dead, one that was healing, one that was radically changing and transforming the world, was extremely appealing. The idea that he was, God manifested in human flesh. He was both God and man all at one. Yeah, that was incredible. And I believed that. So I didn't have an issue with it. It was more or less that there's a lot of people in this world that were doing the same thing I was doing, that you're kind of surrounded by that, and you accept that, and you even believe it. But it's a different story when you actually embrace him and say, all right, from this day forward, I'm going to live by the principles, these biblical principles. I'm going to follow you regardless of where you go, because you are now mine. So there's a possessive part. There's a, I have Jesus and Jesus has me. So it was not a difficult thing for me, but it was more of an epiphany that one day I'm like, you know what my biggest problem is that I've never really accepted Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior. I've accepted him as Lord. I've accepted him as a king. I've accepted him as this incredible, superpower that no human has ever experienced in history. But to actually own Jesus, to say he's mine and that I am his, that's a paradigm shift, brother. And so it was easy to collaborate, connect, communicate with my friends that were Jesus followers. Were all of them Jesus followers? No. But surely my closest ones were those that were Jesus followers.
Yeah, what you're describing, that's it's a mystery, but that is what it's all about. And I've heard it referred to as kind of the 18-inch journey, where you're going from your head to your heart when it comes to your relationship with Christ.
Love that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So, yeah, let's move forward in your story from there. Maybe, I guess, did you go into the military soon after that, and what kind of led you to get into the military?
So I ended up finishing college. I had a double major, psychology and criminal social justice. I graduated with honors, and I'm going to tell you that was the proudest day. One of the proudest moments for my family. And because, here we are, my brother and I, we got a college degree. So we're taking, I'm a Puerto Rican Jew, so we come from a Hispanic family. And, community is everything. Family is everything. And so we were really excited, and we just started talking about, so what's the next steps, Damon? What's the next steps? And we just started thinking, whenever we needed a home. And my mom, she was a single mother for a large, part of our lives. I don't really know, or I wasn't really raised by my biological father, although he was an evil force that episodically kind of impeded and affected our lives. He was very violent, very abusive, spiritually, physically, emotionally. And we were just thinking, I lived in 14 different places in the first 12 years of my life, running away from this psychopath. And my mom, she was a maid. And, there were times when she couldn't afford a place to live, and the government helped with a home, whether it was, the projects or low-income housing. There were times when she didn't have enough money to buy food. And so the government was able to help her with some food stamps. And, there was a time when, I graduated high school and I was able to, I qualified for college. I applied. I got accepted. I was running, and colleges wanted me, and the government, through their programs, they gave me a Pell Grant. They gave me money to go to college. There are just so many amazing opportunities, and that we were blessed by this great nation. My mom did everything she could to get off those food stamps, and she did. She did everything she could to own her own home, not to depend on the government. And we just felt like, what? Like, this government, this country has done a lot for this Hispanic family. And you know what? I think that the right thing to do is to join the United States military. I joined the military because I wanted to give back. I didn't and and I don't fault anybody. Some people join the military because because they want college money, or they join the military because they're trying to get a trade, or they join the military because their parents did it, or I joined the military because I love my country and I wanted to give back. I genuinely wanted to give back. And so that's why I joined the military. And so I just remember I'm looking at all the branches, man. And I remember some Marine walking, man, he looks so good in his uniform. And he just walks up to me. I'm looking at all the branches and stuff. He goes, "Hey, you ever thought about being a Marine?" And I looked at him, and he looked like chiseled jaw. He just, his command presence. I was in awe. I was like, actually, I never thought about being a Marine. And that was history. I ended up signing on the bottom line, and I ended up heading out to boot camp not too much later after that. So it was an incredible journey. So I started off as a Marine. I served there for about 5.5 years until I ended up transitioning or transferring into Air Force Special Operations, Special Tactics.
Well, I mean, before I get too far into the interview, I don't want to forget to thank you for your service. And that's pretty awesome. Like you said, there's not anything wrong necessarily with those other reasons for joining the military, but your reasons are pretty exciting, that it was out of a heart of gratitude. So you were in the Marines, and then, so how did you get introduced to Special Ops? How did that opportunity come about?
So I was in the Marine Corps. And, my last unit, which I wanted to be a recon Marine, went through the recon indoctrination, graduated that. And I was at 2nd Force Recon up in Camp Lejeune. And, and I really fell in love with all the, elite capabilities, these unique ways, the unique mission set, finding high value targets, jumping in, high altitude, low opening, combat diving, being proficient in all these, these vehicles. And, the Marine Corps, love the Marine Corps. I will always be a Marine. But they believe in the well-rounded officer. So I'm, Lieutenant Colonel now in Special Operations. I was the lieutenant, and I just really I fell in love with the whole Special Operations mission set. And in the Marine Corps, you kind of go back in the conventional, and I didn't have an MOS that would keep me in recon or anything like that. So, I was kind of shopping around what other opportunities, because I wanted to continue to serve my country. I wanted to continue to give to my nation, and I had so much more to give. And so, I was looking around, and I really loved the air to ground interface, combat control. They basically are the air to ground. They control all the air power, and they do some extraordinary things. They're highly qualified. It takes about 3 years to train one combat controller. And I mean, they're Halo qualified, combat dive, demolition qualified, FAA air traffic controller qualified. It comes from a Pathfinder history. And I just loved everything about Special Tactics, and a lot of them become joint terminal attack controllers, where you control the air power, the munitions to drop bombs, close with and destroy the enemy. And I'll tell you what, I just loved everything about it. It's kind of like Elijah bringing fire down from the sky. Elijah's like the first combat controller in history. And so Special Tactics operators, one in particular combat controller, is attached to elite, units, special forces, SEAL teams, Rangers, Recon Marines, and we drop all the air power. I fell in love with that mission set. I assessed. It was the hardest assessment of my life, almost drowned, and got selected, and I crossed on over, and I haven't looked back. It's been an incredible ride.
So I saw from your bio that you have 3 Bronze Stars. For people who are militarily ignorant like myself, what does it take to get a Bronze Star?
I'll just say this. I'm humbled that, my leaders have recognized my actions in combat. And obviously there are some medals, like the Silver Star are higher than the Bronze Star Medal, or the Bronze Star Medal of Valor. And then you have other medals, achievement medals, combination medals, things like that. I would say that I don't want to toot my own horn on it. I'll just say that I'm grateful that I was recognized for my actions in combat and actions as a leader. So I'll just leave it like that.
All right. I'm sure we can all Google Bronze Star if we want to learn more, but I think we get the picture. Certainly, I want to talk about the ministry that you're involved in, that you started. So talk about that, how you got involved in it. It's called SOF. Is that correct?
Yes, it's Sos Missions, and that's short for Shield of Faith Missions, coming from Ephesians chapter 6. And what we do in our organization is we do three things. We create awareness through film. That awareness is about the challenges our warriors are dealing with, such as post-traumatic stress and the suicide epidemic. Over 20 veterans are killing themselves every single day. This is an epidemic. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So that's the first initiative. That's, again, creating awareness through film. The second initiative is we provide support through groups nationally and educational material. Myself and other doctors get together and we provide and develop the most contextualized discussion guides that really communicate and connect with our warriors. We like a Spartan-like approach, gunslinger-like. We really want to make sure that whatever we develop, we connect with our veterans, and we make sure that they spiritually grow and they learn a lot about the issues that they're dealing with. There's a spiritual, warfare going on out there. It's not a conversation; it's a reality. And many of our warriors are on the X, and they're being ambushed, and it's a kill zone. So we really develop our materials to really connect with our warriors. So 1, create awareness through film. 2, provide support through groups and education. 3, intensive care, intensive holistic care. So for those individuals that are really hurting, they can apply to our holistic intensive care program. We help warriors go on a path, get on a path of wellness. What is this intensive care? We call it the Surrender Project. And the Surrender Project, what happens is they apply to a committee, and we have senior leaders, general officers, top healthcare professionals in this country, and they develop a customized program for our warriors, dealing psychological, physical, and spiritual. It's one of the best programs that we know of, and the only program that's laced with faith-based with a faith-based approach. So that's what we do at SOF Missions. So we're excited about what we're doing, and we're really excited about creating this awareness, especially with this award-winning film that has received 5 national, international awards, and it's going to be premiering on 9/11.
Wow, that is a lot. So how did you get this vision? When did you get this vision, and how did you get from that vision to where you are right now?
So the vision started off when, in 2010, I was on the verge of self-destruction. I was losing my marriage. My wife and I were getting a divorce. In fact, I was living an entirely different life at that time. And deployed to Afghanistan again. I've had multiple deployments at Iraq and Afghanistan. And I was going into a place called the Death Valley, Korengal Death Valley. And, it was a hellacious fight. It was the first time I just felt like there was just something unique about the experience. I felt overwhelmed. I felt like, yes, we were overwhelmed by the enemy. They had over 100 Taliban were out there. Intelligence reported up to 200. And that we were fighting against, we came in with 2 special forces teams. And no matter how many, bullets we shot, how many bombs we dropped, they were just coming. So we take out 2, 4 would come. I'd drop another bomb, blow up 4, 8 would come. It was just over and over and over again. And I just got to this point where I got exhausted, and I was up for 72 hours, no sleep. And it's one thing not to sleep for 3 days. It's another not to be sleeping and fighting for your life, right? Fighting for your brothers' lives. They were out there as well. I was responsible in dropping multiple bombs, less than 100 meters of friendly position. And it was just a time where God captured my attention. It was just so, every time I talk about it, it just seems like, it's just so surreal. Like it's like it happened yesterday. And I just remember how I had not been walking with God for a long period of time. And my life was just messed up. It just was. I had all my priorities messed up. And I was chasing down this glory, And I just remember I cried out to God. I had not cried out to God like that in, I don't know, a decade, man. And I just remember calling out to him because lives were on the line. And I knew no matter how good I was, no matter how well I was trained, there was no way we were going to get out of it. There's no way I could bring back all my guys. There's no way that we could kill all the enemy. It was hellacious. And I remember I called out to him. It was during that point in time when it was that God spoke to me. I remember him talking to me, communicating with me. And look, I'm a conservative theologian. I just know that one moment in time, it was like time stood totally still. And I'm sitting there and God's speaking to me and he's saying, Damon, I made you for a purpose. I allowed all of these things. There was a lot of pain and anger and bitterness that I harbored. He says, look, I allowed all these things to happen for a reason. I also allowed you to deal with all these challenges, to go into the Marine Corps, to build you up, to give you the experience, to train you in special operations. I allowed all these things to happen for one purpose, for one reason and one reason only, and that's for you to be my warrior. Man, I just remember how I was in awe. I was ashamed. I was experiencing all these emotions. And then I just remember making that commitment to God. And I said, you know what, Lord, if you save me and all my men, all my brothers come home, I know that it was by your divine hand and your divine hand alone. No other way. And if you save my brothers, if we all come back home, I'm gonna serve you the rest of my life. I'm gonna commit my life. I am going to, no joke, this is it. And now I'm going to tell you that we all know that God doesn't really negotiate with man. I mean, God can do whatever it is that he wants. But what God did that day was a miracle. And he honored my request. And at the end of those 7 days of firefighting, I'll tell you what, it ended up with a bursting bomb. We ended up blowing up Restrepo. If you ever saw the Sundance Film Festival award-winning film, Restrepo, you will know exactly that place. If any of these, soldiers that are listening or know anything about Restrepo, they know, man, that was a place called hell. And we blew up Restrepo, and we all came home. And I remember I was on that Black Hawk. I was like, man, I just survived. All my buddies survived. And then there it was, that lingering question, what about that commitment you made to God? And I came home, and I just remember, it was like the Matrix. It was like I took the pill. I took the red pill. And that red pill, all of a sudden, I got unplugged. And all of a sudden, I saw the whole world for what that world was. I all of a sudden saw all the sin in my life. I saw all of the evil that was around me. I saw all the destruction. And I saw where I was in a dark, dark place. And, man, it was like the first time. I woke up. And it was a journey at that point in time. I was like, man, what am I going to do? And I just remember going before God. I was like, all right, you saved my life. Now what? And the first thing I tried to triage, the first thing I tried to save was my marriage. And that was not going well at all because I already made too many mistakes. I had already gone down that road. And I remember, and I also made some mistakes in my career. And I didn't know how to recover, And I just remember this. I just remember going before the Lord saying, Lord, how can I save my marriage? How can I save my career? How can I save this? How can I save that? What about this? What about that? And I just went down this whole list. I'm like, God, but it was all about me. And that was the biggest problem. And all of a sudden, God spoke to me again. And he said, Damon, if you will just love me with all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your soul, and do it with all of your strength, and don't worry about anything else that's going on in the whole world. Don't worry about anything. Don't focus on anything. Just focus on me. Then I will make everything better. I will heal you. I will heal your marriage. I will heal your career. I will heal all those things. And guess what? That's what I did. I trusted in God. I no longer tried, I try to do anything in my own strength, with my own powers or my own influences or my own reason. Man, I just said, God, I'm just going to trust you. I'm just going to focus on you. And when that happened, again, boom, it like propelled me into a different plane and saying this relationship with God. Then all of a sudden, my wife started seeing a difference in me. And it all of a sudden, God healed my marriage. God healed, my soul was hurting so bad, man, my mind and my heart. And then all of a sudden, man, one day when my wife saw this transformation in my life, she's like, what now? And I'm like, let's serve God together. And that was the birth of SOS Missions. I was like, well, what should we do? Let's start a nonprofit organization and let's go out and do something awesome for God. And boom, that was the explosion. That was the spark. That was the ignition of this SOS Missions surrender movement. So that's how it all started.
Wow, that is quite a story. Wow. And the last part of what you were saying, I was just really hit a chord with me because, as men, we just want to fix stuff, right? And when it comes to the biggest challenges in life, we're just foolish when we're trying to do it all ourselves. And Christianity, it's what separates Christianity from all the other religions, right? Every other religion we got to earn our way to God, and Christ says, I did all. You just trust in me, right?
Absolutely. And that's the most awesome thing about God. A lot of people don't understand the concept of grace. We can't buy God. We can't work our way to salvation. God is saying, I did all the work already on that. I sent my son, and he died on that cross for you and for me and for all of the sins in the entire world, past, present, and the future. You know the story. And so the thing is that just even talking about that, knowing with all the sin in my life, all the stuff I messed up, all the things I screwed up, to think that God would forgive me, to say, I've covered you, man. I've got you. What I need from you now, or what I want from you now, because he doesn't need any of us, but what I want, my desire, my heart's desire is for you to glorify me to my entire creation. I want you to be my ambassador. I want you to be my agent. And that's very, very, very similar to anybody who joins the military. A lot of us come from some crazy backgrounds, right? Some of us are criminals. I would be one of them. I don't know how I made it, But some of us go, you know what? I'm gonna sign on the bottom line, and I'm going to commit my life to freedom, to be a part of that, to be a freedom fighter, man, to be a part of this machine that frees those that are oppressed. And I love that, and God does that, but obviously on a way larger scale, on an eternal scale. And the power that we have, that God gives to us, is unbelievable. It's so difficult, so hard to fathom the amount of power that God gives us through the Holy Spirit to conquer these issues, to conquer these challenges, that no matter what the enemy brings before us, that we're able to overcome and to persevere. Why? Because Jesus said it himself. The commander of the universe, the greatest warrior that has ever lived, says, I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. It doesn't matter what kind of conflict you run into. It doesn't matter what kind of firefight you encounter with the enemy. It doesn't matter what kind of ambush. I'm here with you. And we're going to get through this. All you have to do is trust me, and we'll gun our way out of this. And who knows? At the end of the day, when people accept Christ as their personal Lord and Savior, that's God sending the ultimate quick reaction force. And Jesus comes with absolute authority as the warrior of warriors to extract us out of the kill zone as the enemy was ambushing us and doing all of its will to take us out. Jesus extracts us out of that kill zone and saves us. And that's the way that I see my salvation with Christ. That I was there, and literally I was in a 4-way intersection bleeding out. The enemy had just absolutely closed with and destroyed me, and I was bleeding out, and I was almost, dead, in multiple ways. And Jesus comes along in a quick reaction force and saves my life. And so, I'm going to tell you that a lot of people, when they talk to me now, they're like, Damon, you're a totally different dude. Like, I don't even know who you are. Like, what happened? Let me tell you what happened. Jesus happened. Christ, the commander, just comes along and rocks my world. And that's why I'm uber passionate about what we're doing in this organization to help out veterans. Over 2.7 million men and women have deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. And we're now just starting to see the implications of combat. And as I mentioned earlier on, over 20 veterans kill themselves every day. Now let's just stop for a split second and talk about that. Let's talk about this. So here we are, a nation, and I believe down to the core of my soul that we're the greatest nation in all of the world. I'm an American. I'm not just a patriot. I'm a patriot of patriots, but the fact is that we are in the greatest nation, the greatest country in the whole world. And we have all these men, over 2.7 million men and women, since 9/11. We're not even talking about the Vietnam era. Those are great Americans, men and women. And now these men and women who have signed on the bottom line, and they went to the ends of this earth and back, fighting for freedom, for our freedom, for every person that's listening on this podcast, to basically do whatever it is that we want to do, live wherever we want to live. And, and many of us have prospered in this great nation. But we forgot about our veterans. We forgot about our Vietnam veterans. We forgot about our 9/11 veterans. We forgot about all these warriors because of them, we live comfortable lives. Because of them, we can go to work, regardless of the job that you have. We can make some money, and we can feed our family. Well, here's the deal. The same people that fought for our freedoms, well, there's a small population and yet a significant population that's killing themselves. And we need to do something about that. They're in dire need of the truth. They're in dire need of hope. They're in dire need of God. And so that's what we do. There's not a lot of organizations out there. I know that there's a lot of organizations that are committed to helping out our veterans, but I just feel like there's a gap there. And so, and that is from the heart of wanting to help the veteran to the veteran that has the heart that will receive it or willing to receive it. And so for me, I'm still active duty, been in for 18 years. I'm a lieutenant colonel, and I'm a leader in special operations. And check this out, brother. I'm still in the fight right here, right now. I still feel, I was just talking to one of the guys I work with, Special Forces, and just a few days ago, somebody so close to him, they found him dead at home. He was a 18 Delta medic, Special Forces, Green Beret, American hero. That guy was active duty. It's just like, it's not just happening for those that have already left the military. It's happening within the military. And, the structure in the military helps them receive the help that they need. But a lot of times when they go out, it's not bulletproof, obviously, because I just mentioned an SF operator, great American hero, took his life. But it is also out in the real world, these guys, they need help. And so I want to fill that gap. I'm in the trenches. I'm still in the fight. I know what they need. It's fresh. I'm experiencing it every day. That's the purpose of SOS Missions. We're the shield of faith. We're here to protect our men and women who have served for our country. And we're going to do everything that we can. And that's why we create awareness through film. We provide support through groups and education. And for those in dire need, we provide intensive care.
All right, let's talk about this film. Because that would not have been necessarily, if I were thinking about creating this mission and this organization, I wouldn't necessarily have immediately thought about creating a film. And yet, of course, films can be so powerful in spreading a message. And so talk to me about what led you to decide to do this film, and how did you go about creating it?
So, honestly, it wasn't my idea at all. I had a good friend, a senior pastor of my church, I was at Coastline Golf Breeze, and he invited me to a senior pastors conference. I was not a pastor, and I was doing a lot of mission work. But he's like, hey, I want you to come along. Even though it's a senior pastors conference, we can invite people, so I'm inviting you. So we went out. It was in Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. And all of a sudden, for those of you out there who are familiar with Greg Laurie and Harvest America, you know, and how the Lord's been working with him on a national scale, on a global scale. He has, you know, he kind of received the mantle from Billy Graham. He's been filling up the stadiums across the nation, doing these amazing crusades. Well, all of a sudden, I'm there, and I just run into someone who was part of the Harvest America team, and I was just kind of looking around from one booth to another, just trying to see what was out there. And I noticed that the Harvest America team was there, and I started talking to them about what we were trying to do. We wanted to reach our veterans, and I'm just still praying about what that looks like. And then all of a sudden, this question was asked. He said, hey, you ever thought about doing a film? And I was like, no. Well, you should. You know, I'm like, but I don't make films. He goes, that's okay, because we do. And literally, it was like a day later, I'm in the same office with you know, Greg Laurie. I met him, and he's like, hey, you know, we just got finished doing Hope for Hurting Hearts, won like, you know, tons of awards, and maybe we should consider doing Hope for Hurting Heroes. So that was kind of the concept that his team had developed as a sequel. And so from there, we just all felt that it would have a larger evangelistic reach if the film was not actually from Harvest. And it was from like a nonprofit like ours. We're a faith-based organization, but maybe we would have a greater reach with our veterans. Because, you know, there's a lot of people out there, especially in our veteran community, and they're, you know, they just, you know, you start associating with church, it's just hard for them to kind of, you know, take that step forward versus here we are, Shield of Faith Missions or Soft Missions. It's easy for them just to get to know us, hear our message, and then say, wow, there's some goodness here. And they find out we're faith-based, like, hey, these guys are okay. And it's really just the beginning. It's part of the journey, how they start. And, you know, we're able to kind of reach out and connect with them, and they embrace us. And so we've got this relationship. So that was the impetus of making this film. So we ended up, you know, we took about 2 years to develop this film. It was about $1 million worth of resources and money we raised. God was really great. We've got a great actor, NCIS LA, and Criminal Minds actor, Tom Omer. We also had a top Hollywood military advisor, Matt Siglock. That guy's awesome. I mean, this guy is one of the most sought out military coordinators, advisors in Hollywood. And then and all of our warriors were military, and we just had some great actors. And so we put it all together. We're able to film where American Sniper had out in the desert. But God just had so much favor. And then boom, we packaged up this film. And then we just said, you know what we want to do? Originally, we wanted to put it in theaters and all that other stuff. We had a family kind of help us along the way with our script. But then what we ended up doing was we just felt that we should offer this film for free, which is exactly what we decided to do. We didn't want it to be an issue in saying, hey, you know, you got to pay for, $10 or $12 or $15. Not that there's anything wrong with faith-based films for free. We just wanted to be, at a cost. We wanted Americans to go, hey, I want to take my veteran and not have an issue over it, and so what we did is we gathered together with a couple marketing companies. And so we're launching this film. We did a pre-release, a previous 9/11, and over 25,000 people live showed up. We were able to show it at Harvest, Calvary, Harvest, Calvary Chapel Harvest, Calvary Chapel Chino Hills. Love my brother out there, and Calvary Chapel Golden Springs. We did that, and it was incredible. We got some amazing feedback, and now we're doing our national premiere. And so it's going to be hosted at Tampa Theater, 1,200 seats, an incredible theater. But for those people, which are the majority of the people that will be listening, if you can't be there, we're host a simulcast. So we're offering this film absolutely for free. to anyone and everyone that wants to watch it. We're asking churches, to host it, small groups, nonprofits, small organizations or gatherings or whatever it may be. And it's not just for veterans. I mean, it's a phenomenal movie. It's 6 operators. It's about taking the oath, training, going to war, killing bad guys, coming home and dealing with the implications of combat, these challenges even to the point of suicide, but then how Jesus launches the ultimate rescue mission in history and saves, these operators that were really struggling. So we're really excited about it. That's what's going on, and people could just go to, sofmissions.com, and they can RSVP to go to Tampa Theater, or they just can click on host a simulcast. It's absolutely free. So anybody out there that's listening, just go to sofmissions.com, check it out, and just reserve your seat or host a simulcast. It's pretty awesome. But we're really excited. We've won tons of awards, and it's just been done with excellence. And we feel like we got an A+ on it.
Well, that's really exciting, and I can't wait to see it. I'm going to have to try to figure out how to see it. So that's going to be one of my next challenges, and I will bring this up to my church. But it sounds awesome, and I saw the trailer for it, and you must be really pumped about it. Where do you see this leading to? In other words, you're going to do this screening and basically help create awareness to get more people your mission, your ministry, correct?
Yeah. So we have a methodology, right? And this was a part of my dissertation in figuring out, okay, we're going to try to connect with people groups. But when you connect with people groups, how can you provide services so that they can grow? You can help them. You can provide a solution. So the idea behind it is very much like warfare, right? When we're about to invade, we drop a bomb. It's definitely one of the methods. You drop a bomb like a big bomb. Boom! And then all of a sudden you got your machine guns, you're hitting the target, and then you just assault to the objective with your forces, right? Your manpower. That's the same concept that we have in our organization. So when people watch the film, the objective of that film, it's evangelistic in nature. And again, you don't even have to be a veteran. You could be like you could be a family member of a veteran. You could support veterans. But a lot of these issues that we talk about in the film, isolation, insignificance, feeling insignificant, abuse, alcoholism, just being in dark places, depression. These are issues that resonate with lots of Americans. We all, in one point in time, struggle with something personal, and a lot of these issues definitely deal with them. I would also say that right now our main focus of effort are veterans, but we are going to be providing a lot of our services, our curriculum, our material to first responders, law enforcement officers, paramedics, those that are on the scene first. And a lot of our material also resonates with men and family. So I say that the film is the main weapon to, capture people's attention. You could host it at your home and say, look, this is a award-winning film, operators, you got elite Marine, Navy SEAL, you got elite special operations, special forces. You've got special tactics, combat control. You got all flavors, brother. Even a female who is a freaking machine, who is an aviator. She's that flew gunships, known as the Angel of Death. So she looks like a soccer mom. But let me tell you, brother, you don't want to be in a dark alley, her chasing you down. That's what I'll tell you. So we got all the flavors. I really wanted to be honest. We got conventional forces there. We got elite operators. We got both men and women. And this movie is really going to resonate with the American person. So it's all about the film. And then after the film, what we want to do is let the churches know, do you have a military outreach? Do you have a connect group that focuses on veterans? If your whole church, significant population are veterans, let us help you with our resources. Let us help you establish a connect group. Let us help you with our material. Like, we even have fire and forget weapons. We've got topical studies. We even have New Testament studies from Matthew to Revelation, 9 months long. Thousands of people are using our materials across the country. Our New Testament study is very dynamic. It's got videos. It's got devos, daily devos, reading material from Matthew to Revelation. And we got topical studies. I mean, we are stacked from the Warriors Challenge to even a discussion guide of the film. So we got lots of stuff. All they have to do is go to sophmissions.com, check out our library of materials and our academy. And there's a lot that we can do to help out these churches. But you know what? It is frustrating on a personal level. I'm a national speaker. I speak for Premier, and I go across the country speaking, California, Texas, Florida, Virginia, all sorts of places. And you know what? I'll ask, how many veterans are there in the congregation? And man, like 30%, 40% will raise their hands. And the pastor will come and go, man, I had no idea I had so many veterans. Like, I knew I had a lot of veterans, but I didn't know I had that many. Hey, let me help you. Let me help you provide the support, the services, the education, the spiritual growth, the connect groups. Let me help you. I mean, it doesn't, and if there's somebody really struggling with these issues and they need intensive care, have them apply to sophmissions.com. Go to, it says, get help. Click on that. Boom. It's got resources, or you apply to the PTSD project. So that's the message that I want to tell to our churches, our nonprofits, our organizations, or just, informal gatherings. We're here to help. This is our national, atomic bomb. Boom. We spent, since 2011, we've been serving the Lord. We've served over 65,000 people globally, all over the world, in incredible places. And now we're really focusing our efforts right now with veterans, helping out, servicing thousands of veterans, and that's what we want to do. And that's what we want to continue to do. Obviously you can hear my passion because I want to help them. I'm sick and tired of seeing our men and women who've served our country killing themselves. I mean, man, if you're out there and you feel like you've tried everything, well, let me tell you, you haven't tried this. You have not shown this film, Surrender Only to One, to a veteran that's hurting. You have not used our educational material that is helping out thousands of people. So really the issue right now is exposure because we're younger, but this is our national movement, man. This is our film. So we're dropping the atomic bomb through the film, and we're going to shoot our machine guns with our national groups, and we're going to do an assault, man, with our forces, with our educational material and our intensive care. So that's SOF Missions in a nutshell. And anybody who's out there, man, all you got to do is go to sophmissions.com.
Well, that is great, and I've already decided I'm gonna publish this episode in the matter of days. I had a series of interviews that I've already recorded, but I'm going to bump this up so that it is released before your airing on September 11th. And I'm going to talk to our church, the leaders in our church, to see if it's not too late, if there's any way we can get this simulcast. But I just appreciate so much you sharing your passion and story, and just letting God lead you in this awesome way, because it is such a great need out there. And so I thank you for your time. I thank you for what you're doing with your ministry. And I guess before we wrap things up, I guess I would just ask you, is there anything else that you want to share? Any final thoughts before we close this out?
Yeah, I do have one thing that I want to share, and that is that whoever you are out there, if you're in a dark place, man, I get it. I understand. I'm not just saying this. I'm telling you, I know exactly where you are. There's a point in my personal life where I asked a question, and it was a profound question, and that was this: what is the purpose of living? If you're out there and you're asking that question, if you're struggling, if you're struggling with alcohol, you're struggling in your marriage, if you're struggling with drugs, if you're struggling with, like, why am I even living? If you're struggling with all these things and you just feel overwhelmed, I'm telling you right now, there's a solution. I'm asking that you would pray that Jesus would answer your prayer. I know he will. If you're hurting out there, he's the solution. He's the commander. He's in the fight. He's all about grace. He's all about love. He's all about mercy. But you know what? He's all about the fight too. He's all about defense, and he's all about closing with and destroying the enemy. He's all about saving, and he's all about liberation, and he's all about freedom. He's all about conquering and annihilating oppression. And so if you're out there, brother, sister, God loves you. He cares about you, and he wants you to live. And he wants you to be strong, and he wants you to be firm, and he wants you to be bold. And so if you need help, come to sofmissions.com. Let us help you. We got amazing resources, and we're grateful for all the opportunities. If you just reach out, we'll be there. We'll help you out. And I thank you, brother, for letting me be on this show, on your podcast, and just to be your teammate in this fight.
Men at Work, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. We just heard about Damon Friedman's journey, being spirit-led in his work. Each of our journeys are unique, but hopefully you've heard something in this episode to inspire you and give direction for your own personal daily work life. You can find links and other information from this show at davehilgendorf.com. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate Gary Bird's understanding. I had originally scheduled to release my interview with him, which is a fantastic interview today, but I'm pushing that out till next time so that I could get this interview released, just due to the fact that the September 11th showing is coming up so soon. So, but that just a heads up that the next episode with Gary Bird, you won't want to miss that one. That is awesome as well. So hope you guys have a great week, and talk to you later. God bless.